Hello, hello, and welcome to Zerg Week with Gum Jabbar. Um, so yeah, we've finished PvP and PvT, and now we're on PvZ. This is a pretty fun matchup. Been going through a lot of changes lately. You know, it used to be just lots of Colossus everywhere, and it was sentries. That was pretty much it. And Zerg's kind of figured out that they can't just make Roach Hydra and hope to win that. So what they're doing now is making Infestors, and that kind of forces High Templar and moves the matchup a little away from the Colossus. So that's sort of where we're at in the matchup. A lot of cool stuff happening. So you will be seeing a lot of High Templar in the next few days. But this first game, we're going to start off with just sort of a modern example of pretty standard PvP right now, or I'm sorry, PvZ right now. And I kind of like this because it feels a little more like Brood War PvZ. It's more fun than just turtling to 3 base. Basically what we're doing is a big 2 base timing attack, and we're going to try and do a lot of damage with it, and damage can mean a lot of things. When you're playing against Zerg, anytime you force them to make a lot of units instead of drones while you're making workers yourself, you're doing some amount of damage. Especially, you know, if his number of units can't really do any damage to you, then they're pretty much a waste of units. And it's a waste of larvae. So, that's what we're going to be looking at. Now, before we move on any further, I'm going to just point out this is a PTR map. I don't remember which number it is, but I'm sure it'll get a proper name once the maps are released. This is a nice map, though, because it lets you forge expand very easily. The rush distances are pretty long. It's a pretty good macro map. I'm a fan of it. I like it. The thirds are not hard to take either. So there goes the Nexus. You can wall off with only 3 buildings on this map, which makes it really good. There's my gateway, and I'm going to make another pylon pretty soon. Right, so as we continue with this game, what is a Zerg going to do to respond to this Forge Fast Expand? What's the weakness of the Forge Fast Expand? Besides the obvious cheeses like Nidus and Drops and whatever else, Roaches, Baneling, Bust, the weakness is that it doesn't really give you much pressure or map control. It frees the Zerg up to take a very fast third and make a ton of drones. And there's only a few ways you can kind of deal with this. One is a Stargate opening, which is pretty popular nowadays, but personally I'm just not a fan of Stargate. I just don't really like the units and the playstyle that you use when you use Stargate units. So I've been trying to do other things, and a big 2 base push is another way that you can force the Zerg to respond, because if he makes nothing but drones and you do a big 2 base push that he's not really prepared for, then he just dies. And at the very least, you can take out a base or 2 and do enough damage that it's worth it, and it puts you back on even economic footing. If he does respect the push and he knows it's coming, he can scout it, then he has to make units and upgrades to respond to this, usually burrow and things like that. So that in itself takes money away from his economy. Stop doing that. Alright, here we go. And forcing the Zerg away from his economy is always a good option. So that is what our goal is going to be. In particular, this game, I'm doing what is quite standard now, the +2 attack Blink Stalker 6 gate timing attack. This is a really effective timing. Blink Stalkers are super amazing. And you're pretty much going to do damage with it. At the very worst, I've found it puts you even with the Zerg, and then you can expand right after your push, or while you're being aggressive. And you're in good shape. It's a lot less risky than just taking a fast third while just straight up turtling, because then you the onus is on the Zerg to harass, and you don't really want to be the one under aggression. You want to be the aggressor, because that forces the Zerg to make units and to react to you. It gives you more map control. It just puts you in a better spot. And Blink Stalkers is a great way to be aggressive. So you see my +1 attack is almost done. I'm getting Blink, adding on gateways. 6 gateways now complete. For probes, we want at least 50, and then we can stop momentarily. You don't have to stop, but it makes the attack stronger. You know, a lot of Zergs will sort of whine that this is an all-in off 2 base. It's absolutely not. It can be, of course, but I think the better way to play it is to not treat it as an all-in. It's to treat it as a big timing push. And yeah, it has to do damage, because if it doesn't do anything, then Zergs, like if you just, you know, do this big push with all the upgrades and then expand, Zerg's going to be way ahead in drones and nothing's going to come of it. On the other hand, as long as we're aggressive with it and maintain aggression, Zerg is going to be at least even with us. And then we can expand. So it's pretty good. And now I am making an extra gateway to take out this front one so I can escape. And if we look at the unit count, Zerg has 5 lings and about 60 drones. Income-wise, he has 3 bases. He's actually at pretty much great saturation. He's in a perfect economic spot. But he hasn't made any units. He hasn't really scouted this push coming. And we're going to see what happens. These sentries optionally can remain at home to defend against counterattacks, but you can also just bring them with you in force field. It's, you know, your option. I know Huck likes to leave them at home, so that's something to keep in mind. I have brought them with me. And now we see Zerg just making lots of roaches. And at this point, again, I'm not trying to straight up kill the Zerg. That's definitely not my goal. My goal is to just stay super aggressive from now until basically the end of the game. Try and kill a base if I can. Blink really helps you do that. You can snipe a base and then just blink away. And we're going to see some of that. So right now I'm just massing up. Notice Zerg does not have Burrow. He does not have Infestors, which is really good against Blink. He doesn't really have any Spine Crawlers either. He's just not really prepared for this push. And we'll see what happens. I'm going to be able to take out this base. Should really focus fire it. There we go. And the base is dead. He really didn't have the units to deal with this. And now, I'm going to go ahead and engage. I can do that. I have plenty of Stalkers that have Blink and +2 attack against his 1-0 upgrades. And now we're going to go in here and take out another base. Really nothing that Zerg can do. We just run away. And of course for a Zerg, this just feels awful. We were at 3 base, we had a great economy, and now we're down to a 1 base economy. And meanwhile, on my half of the game, I'm back to making probes. I've taken a 3rd base. Getting a robo because Burrow is inevitably coming. And with this probe, I'm just going to scout out and make sure he doesn't have anything else. So this is what happens when Zerg focuses on his economy and doesn't see the push coming. It's really deadly. In future games, we're going to look at what happens when, of course, Zerg does see this coming. And, you know, what we can do about it. If he wants to get Burrow and Infestors up in time for this push, he can't have as many drones, and a lot of the time he won't even have a third base. He'll be going for a big 2-base army, and hopefully he's going to try and crush your attack. So we're going to look at what happens then in the future. But suffice it to say, his economy and yours will be at least on even footing, and you'll be a lot of the time ahead, because your third base will go down around the time his does. Now, once my push is finished and I have a third base coming up, I want to tech up a little more. I'm getting the Robo for an Observer and eventually for Immortals, and I'm going for the Dark Shrine. A lot of the time I'll also favor that Templar Archives, because he's going to want Infestors and you want to feedback those Infestors. And Storm is really powerful too. In this case, however, I'm going for the Dark Shrine. And I'm still just sort of scouting out. I tried to do a bit of a Zealot harass down here. It got shut down, so not really worth showing. But there's the Dark Shrine. And here we go, more Zealots. This is something else that is really good in Brood War, and a lot of players are starting to do it in Starcraft 2. Zealots are just really good harassing units, especially against Zerg, but also against Terran. You just send them into a mineral line and let them go to work. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to send these Zealots here. His Roaches come back to defend. And Stalkers move in to take out the third. Boom. And with Blink, I can just run away. Will I? I don't know. I'm going to force field the drones in. Not really successfully, but I got most of them. And now we have twice as many workers as Zerg does. Meanwhile, I've got a Dark Templar in the main. Fourth base on the way, almost maxed. And we can tell this game is clearly won. And now I'm just adding Immortals to my army. I know he's going heavy Roach, so Immortals are just really good. And here we go. I'm going to go ahead and engage. Not really doing much Blink Micro. Getting better at it. And if he has Infestors, just blink in and snipe him. And at this point, I have an amazing Concave and a ton of Stalkers. And Zerg whines and leaves the game. Blink, blink, blink back. Blink Micro is fun. And of course, we shouldn't, downplay that Zerg made an awful lot of mistakes. But this is just sort of showing the optimal effect of this Blink Stalker timing attack. So, in the next game, we're going to look at what we can do to make this more powerful if Zerg is going to respond properly and scouts it. And we're going to take a look at other aspects of PvZ, so hopefully you will join me for that. And I'll see you later.